Ole! Catch her! She stole my akara. The woman screamed, pointing towards Ejiro. Ejiro lifted her eyes and saw the crowd gathered around her. As she tried to make her way out, they surrendered her. We can't let her escape. She must be punished. We can't let her escape. She must be punished. Let's burn her alive, a voice shouted. Ejiro started crying and pleading with them. I have never stolen in my life before. I took this akara from my daughter who is starving at home. Please forgive me, she pleaded. She is a thief, the crowd chanted. Don't listen to her. Every thief has a reason for their bad attitude, a woman said. Everyone started mentioning the things they've lost and how Ejiro was the culprit. Iya Ola walked into the crowd and shouted, Let her go. I will pay for what she stole. Everyone kept mute as she spoke. Iya Ola was a respected trader in that village. She sold cooked food in the village market. She never got married, but she had 2 children, a boy and a girl. She stretched her hands towards Ejiro, who held her and stood up. Iyaola took her to her store, gave her food, and asked her what prompted her to steal in the market. Ejiro was known for begging and laziness. Everyone in the village hated her for that. But Iyaola was so kind to her. Ejiro rather begged than work to fend for herself and her daughter. Back in her family, her parents can barely fend for them. Ejiro found her path by begging. When the people in her village got tired of her and giving her things, she left her village to settle in a new village where no one would recognize her. She once fell in love and had a daughter, Oghene. Her husband got tired of her constant begging despite his efforts to provide for her in his little way. She left with her daughter to start afresh till she met her fate that day. Iyaola asked her why she stole from the market as they walked back to her hut out of fear of the angry villagers. Ejiro told her she had to fend for herself and for her daughter. He also told her she had never stolen in her life before. She had to take the akara, bean cake, from Isosa after begging her and she refused. She thought she wouldn't notice or mind that she took some from her. Eyaola admonished her for stealing, and the punishment in the village was death. She told her she was lucky she intervened on her behalf. Ejiro thanked her and promised that she would never do such a thing again. When Iyaola got to her hut, she was moved to pity at the state of her hut and her poor daughter. She told her she would help her and her daughter. Ejiro was relieved as she thanked her. Out of fear of the villagers, Ejiro decided not to leave her hut. After a few days, they had no food, and her daughter cried herself to sleep the other night out of hunger. Ejiro had to leave her hut and visit Eyola for help. Eyola gave her some food and offered her a job in her village canteen where she would wash plates for her. In return, she would give her a token and also feed her and her daughter. Ejiro agreed to work with her. The next day, when Ejiro got to Iya's shop, she met lots of people eating in her canteen and a huge plate behind the shop. She was angry as she preferred her former ways than washing a mountain of plates. Ejiro had never worked in her life before. She didn't want to disappoint Iya after she saved her from the angry mob the other day. She thought of an easy way out from Iya. She decided she would continue her lifestyle even under Iya's roof. Whenever she noticed that Iya was busy with customers, she would sneak out from the backyard and ask some of the customers for money to feed her baby that Iya doesn't pay her. Some people took pity on her and gave her money, while others chased her away angrily. Ejiro was still uncomfortable walking. She believed Iya was punishing her by wasting her time. Iya found out about Ejiro's attitude towards her customers. She told her she doesn't like such a thing. Ejiro apologized and promised to turn to a new leaf. Iya agreed. Ejiro devised a plan to steal from Iya and run away with her daughter to start afresh in a faraway village where nobody will recognize her or discourage her from begging. Every day after they close from the market, Ejiro would trail Iya to find out where she keeps her money. She discovered that Iya gave her savings to Osas, the village money lender. She thought of ways she could get close to Osas and steal from her, but she couldn't fathom any. Osas kept to herself, and the village vigilantes were always around her and in her home to protect her and the villagers' money. After days of trailing Iya and Osas, an opportunity presented itself for Ejiro. Iya was sick and couldn't go to Osas as usual to keep her money. She called on Ejiro for help. Ejiro was happy that she collected the money from her. She thought of taking the money and disappearing from the village with her daughter Oghene, but she couldn't because her greed set in. She wanted more, so she devised a plan to go to Osa's house and steal more from her before disappearing with Oghene. As Ejiro entered Osa's compound, she saw Osas at the back, who signaled her to wait for her in her hut. She made her way inside her hut and saw Osa's bag hanging by the corner of the house. She grabbed it and opened it. She took all the money in it and hurriedly left. Osad entered her hut and saw her bag on the floor empty. She shouted, "Thief! Thief!" She ran towards the direction Ejiro went. Ejiro heard her screaming and tried to run, but some men had Osas and ran towards Ejiro. They grabbed her and found the money with her. One of the men hit Ejiro with a big stick on the head. She fell and died. Iya heard the news about Ejiro. Before she could get there, she only met Ejiro's lifeless body. The villagers were angry with Iya for saving her the first time. They decided they are going to banish her daughter Oghene out of fear that she might continue with what her mother did. Iya knew the sins of Ejiro were going to haunt Oghene for the rest of her life. She also knew leaving Oghene to get banished would cause more harm to her because she had no one and no place to stay. Iya pleaded with the villagers to allow her to adopt Oghene as her child, as she would be responsible for her. The villagers agreed on one condition, that whatever Oghene does, that Iya will bear the consequences, and her entire family. Oghene moved in with Iya. Her son, Ola, wasn't comfortable with it, but her daughter, Bumi, found a sister in Oghene, and they became very close. Ola was the eldest of them all. Although the villagers hated Oghene and deserted her because of the sins of her late mother, Oghene was grateful to Iya for saving her life and taking good care of her. And she promised not to disappoint her or put her family in danger. Oghene had a very wonderful gift of convincing people to buy things even when they don't want to buy it. Oghene helped Iya's business grow within a short period of time she joined them. People were coming to buy things from her. Her customers increased and people were happy with her services. Iya marveled at how easy it was for Oghene to convince people. She was so happy and proud of her. Ola was one of the potential suitors in the village, as every young woman liked him because he was handsome, but he mostly takes advantage of the young women by sleeping with them. Iya was not happy with her son's lifestyle. She had advised him to settle down with a young woman and stop living a promiscuous life, but Ola refused. Iya decided to let him be, and hopefully that one day he would change from his evil ways. One day as Bumi, Iya and Oghene were in the shop, they ran out of some supplies. Iya asked Oghene to run home and get them. When Oghene got home, she quickly entered the hut and collected all that Iya asked her to get. As she made her way out, Ola called her to come into his hut. Oghene refused because she knew what Ola was capable of. As she tried to move away, Ola grabbed her. Oghene screamed out of fear, "You daughter of a thief! You can never be part of my family. Everyone in this community hates you. I'm only doing you a favor by coming close to you. Leave me alone. I don't want you and your entire community," Oghene replied. "You are going to die lonely and sad. No one will ever marry you," Ola said as he shoved her. Out of fear, Oghene ran to the shop and told Iya what happened. That evening, when Iya got home, she was furious with Ola. She warned him never to come close to Oghene. He also warned Ola to treat Oghene like his sister, the same way he treats Bumi. Ola shouted, "Never! That thief can never and will never be my sister." Ola was ashamed of himself and also angry at Oghene for making his mother to talk to him that way. Oghene knew she had to leave as soon as possible, as Iya wouldn't protect her forever. She started saving from the little token Iya gave her. She told Bumi of her plans. Bumi knew she would miss her, but she was scared of Ola hurting her. So she decided to help her by giving her all her savings to leave and escape her brother. Oghene thanked Bumi. She went to Iya and told her she had decided to leave for another village. Iya was sad, but she prayed for her and told her she would always have a home with her. Oghene thanked her and went back to work as she had planned to leave in 2 days. On the eve of her departure, as she prepared to leave, a sense of unease settled over Oghene. She knew the village, with its mix of kind and cruel people, had been her home for a time now. Yet the need to escape Ola's threat and start afresh drove her decision. That night, Oghene lay awake. She had a strange feelings about her leaving and all that she will encounter on the way. But she dismissed it, focusing more on the plans for her new life and probably love with happiness. The next day, Oghene rose very early, gathered her belongings and the saving Bumi had given her. She went to Iya's hut and bade her farewell, even as Iya was asleep. She went to Bumi, expressed her gratitude and love as she left. As she made her way through the quiet bush path, she couldn't shake the feelings of being followed. She quickened her pace, heading towards the edge of the village. Suddenly, Ola appeared from the shadows, blocking her path. "Where do you think you're going?" he sneered. His eyes glinted with anger and desperation. "I need to leave, Ola. This is no longer my home," Oghene replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "You think you can just walk away?" Ola grabbed her arms roughly. "You owe us for everything we've done for you." "I have repaid that debt 100 times over," Oghene said, trying to pull away. "Let me go." Their struggle attracted the attention of a few villagers who began to gather, whispering among themselves. The commotion grew until Iyaola and Bumi arrived, drawn by the noise. "Ola, let her go," Iya shouted, pushing through the crowd. "This is not the way." Ola hesitated, his grip loosened as he looked around, realizing the extent of the sin he had caused. The villagers' eyes were on him. judgment clear in their expression. Reluctantly, he released Oghene, who stumbled back in tears. Iya, please, Oghene whispered, let me go. Iyaola stepped forward, placing a hand on Oghene's shoulder. Go, my child. May you find peace and happiness. Remember, you always have a home here if you need it. Oghene nodded, hugging Iyaola and Bumi tightly before turning and walking away. The villagers parted to let her pass, some offering words of encouragement, others simply watching and murmuring in silence. Days turned into weeks as Oghene traveled from village to village, finally settling in a small peaceful community where no one knew her past. She found work with a kind shopkeeper who valued her honesty and hard work. Slowly, she built a new life for herself, always carrying the lessons she had learned with her, and how her mother's mistake almost ruined her life. Back in her old village, Iyaola's canteen continued to thrive, thanks to the goodwill Oghene had helped foster during her time there. Bumi later got married to a kind young man he had fallen in love with in the neighboring village. Iya worked tirelessly in her canteen. She employed more young women who needed a job. Ola, realizing the errors of his ways, began to change, influenced by the kindness and forgiveness shown by his mother and sisters towards him. He started treating people with respect, especially women. Years later, news of a prosperous trader named Oghene reached Iya Ola's village. The villagers, remembering the Oghene who had once lived among them and how they wrongly judged her and treated her badly because of the sins of her late mother, we are amazed by her success. Iya Ola, Bumi, and even Ola were happy that Oghene found the right path and she didn't let the sins of her mother justify her, knowing she had overcome her past and built a better future for herself through hard work and honesty. One evening, as Iyaola was in her canteen, a beautiful, rich lady walked in. It was Oghene. Iya was so happy to see her. Oghene brought a lot of gifts for Iya and Bumi. They were all happy for her. Ola was happy to see her too. Ola asked for her forgiveness. Oghene told him he had forgiven him a long time ago. They were all happy. The moral of this story is that we should not let past events determine our future. We should always work hard and embrace change at its most time helps us thrive. Thanks for watching. Kindly let us know what you think about the story in the comment section. Thank you.